So Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome all to the wonderful session of Shravan Utsav for our dearmost Guru Maharaj, his own is Gopal Goswami Maharaj. So we are having, today we are very fortunate and also very happy to have His Grace Govind Prabhu and Gita Mataji, and were very especially consented to have this at their timing. So thank you very much, Prabhuji and Mataji. So we have devotees joining slowly, but we will get started with the session. So we just wanted to thank you really. In terms of for others to know, like it is very important that Prabhuji and Mataji have been serving Guru Maharaj for the last at least 30-40 years now, way back from 1980s, where most of them were not even born. So we're very fortunate that we have them here, and they're based out of Atlanta, USA. And we all know, like whenever Guru Maharaj every year when he travels from Russia to the US, he has different hopping points in New York, Washington DC, then San Jose, Atlanta, and US. But from Atlanta and other places, Prabhuji Mahataji has been taking care of Guru Maharaj so nicely that whenever we mention about Guru Maharaj US trip, he will never forget to mention about Prabhuji and Mataji's so much of service and also so much of love and affection they have been showering for Guru Maharaj. So whenever we tend to talk with Guru Maharaj on any of the US trips, Guru Maharaj will always mention about Mataji's and Prabhu's dedication in terms of serving Guru Maharaj. And was also very important that we should understand as Grihasthas, Prabhuji and Mataji have been ideal in terms of taking up Guru Maharaj's instructions so lovingly and so vigorously that they have been initially, like when the Bhakti Riksha programs are all very small, host programs were all like kind of in 90s, Prabhuji and Mataji inspired like in 80s itself. So we are very fortunate for them to have us here. And they have been earlier, whenever we come to know about them, they were long back, like they were in Juhu, Mumbai, and then the inspiration and enthusiasm from Guru Maharaj was from Mumbai, Juhu, and then Prabhu was with very reputed airlines also. So then I think they came back from Juhu as per Guru Maharaj's instructions from Atlanta. And then after some time, I think they have moved back to from Juhu back to Atlanta. So very fortunate today, and we want to hear more from senior Vaishnavas and then take instructions and inspiration from all of them. So thank you very much, Prabhuji and Mataji, for joining us today. So over to you. Thank you, Krishna.
Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Gopal Goswami Niti Namine Prabhupadasya Sahitam Yapakasam Vitiracha Pracharam Kipam Sadhu Bhavatpadaya. So Prabhuji is going to speak first.
Hare Krishna. I would like to thank all of you. You are such an esteemed audience, and we are privileged to have this opportunity to associate with this nice group. So we will begin by glorifying our Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. While I have had a lot of association with him initially in India, it was Maharaj's very distinct preaching program and preaching activity here in the States that did attract me, and I noticed several occasions where he was interviewed, and the vim and vigor with which he was preaching, and not just preaching, but boldly preaching, really fascinated me. And today I am going to give you a sampling of what did really attract me. Was one of his interviews with one of the broadcast stations there, and you have to really see this to believe this, but I can tell you for sure, even wherever there is an opportunity for Maharaj, he puts Krishna in the picture, he puts our Vedic culture in the picture, he makes every effort to preach. So there was this instance where he was being interviewed. So I'm going to give you a question answer, kind of a recap of what happened. So the first question which was asked to him in this particular instance was, this was the broadcaster, he tells Guru Maharaj, in saffron robes, you guys go around like cop-outs, chanting and selling things. You take no part in the practical life of the country. So now the response from Guru Maharaj was, people like you are cop-outs. In other words, the natural position of the living entity is to serve God. When one does not serve God, he becomes a cop-out. Now, with this answer, I see how amazing Guru Maharaj doesn't get agitated by his accusation. Now, the whole interview was to put down the Hare Krishna movement there in the eyes of the public, and this was done on a live broadcast. So you can imagine so many people, maybe thousands of people watching. And it was, his answer was absolutely so commensurate with the kind of question that he asked. And you see, he used the word cop out, the same word that the question had was put in the answer. He says, when one doesn't serve God, he becomes a cop out. And what was the reaction? The second question which came as a reaction. The questioner, he said, I kind of like you. You are a nice guy, but your followers seem brainwashed. So you see now Maharaj has achieved the first thing is to establish a good impression with the person to whom he's preaching or who is being interviewed with him, and he's done that. So the first response was, I kind of like you. So you see that paves the way for Maharaj to now unload or shoot a barrage of preaching the material, which he followed up with. And then let's see what was the response to this, that, but your followers seem brainwashed. Guru Maharaj says, in fact, society forgets their relationship with God. So what we are doing is to undo that brainwashing by presenting the real truth along with cookies, free of charge. So then this next question. Tell me how you will brainwash me. Straight away he tells them, okay, you go ahead now, you try and brainwash me the way you do, your followers do that. So Guru Maharaj replies so humbly and so boldly, we don't want to brainwash you. We just want to free you from the brainwashing that you have experienced right from birth. You see, straight away Maharaj dumped the philosophy on him that you have experienced brainwashing right from birth. Now then, after a couple of other questions, then the interviewer asked Maharaj, how much pocket money do your followers get? Now, the kind of impression that they had there was that we are collecting money and this thing, we are kind of, in need of money. So just see the immediate response that Maharaj gives. And this is live, thousands of people watching live. Maharaj says, not a penny. They have dedicated their whole life for the propagation of God consciousness, which is the need of the society. You should be using your broadcasting for this purpose, because this is the biggest problem in society today. He simply floored him there. But then that question comes again with another interesting question. But you do nothing for our society. Guru Maharaj's response: we give the biggest gift of society by giving them God consciousness, by which process they can become happy. Then he continues. Evil is now on the increase. Now, due to lack of God consciousness, God or Krishna has to be brought to the center. Then the questioner tries another angle of attack to try and put down Guru Maharaj. He says, you must be getting kids to join you, the kids who are generally university dropouts. Now he's putting down his comment. We're taking kids who are university dropouts. Now here's the excellent response that Maharaj shoots out. He says, do you mean to say that your university graduates are not confused? Because in those days, there was a big public consensus that university graduates are depressed, they're taking depression drugs, etc., etc. And he says, so he's putting it back on his educational system. And Maharaj continues telling him, the more education you acquire, the more confused you get. And Maharaj quoted an article in the paper which says that all the graduates here in the West are getting unemployed and they really don't know what to do with themselves. And now here, this was where the questioner was completely flabbergasted, he said. And now he changed his tone. He said, instead of calling him, by the full name, he calls him just by his first name. He says, Gopal, you are always too good to be true. Gopal, I was determined not to shout at you, but really, I don't like the sect or your cult. Maharaj fired back. We are not a cult. A cult is defined with just one leader and based not on any bona fide scriptures. The Krishna consciousness movement follows the bona fide Vedic scriptures, which are the oldest known scriptures to mankind. This was too much for him. And in the meantime, he turned on the switch there to take calls over there, because while this interview is going on live on the broadcast, they have the landlines are open to callers from the public who can put any question. So the first telephone call came. And this gentleman said, I have a question for the gentleman today. Who is educating their young children? Which means who is educating the children of the ISKCON devotees? So then the Maharaj immediately came back with a strong answer. We have our own system, and we have found our children do much better in being able to read, write, and speak better than those children in society, in the public society. Now, this was Maharaj fielded this call, which was trying to kind of attacking on the ISKCON children. So then the next call. Now here's Krishna coming in the picture. The next call comes, and the caller says, I must say, I like the chanting of the Hare Krishnas in the street. I have in fact read some of their books, and it seems to me they really have something to offer to our society. And the interviewer was completely floored out. And what was his response? He put the switch off on the telephone. He didn't want to take any more calls. And he said, that's a favorable call. We don't need to dwell on that. And everyone started laughing. So then Maharaj says, to give a bit of preaching, he says, our institution is giving the highest education to the society. Then the questioner said, I don't think so. And what was Maharaj's reply? He says, that's because you're understanding this from a distance. You have to take, you have to get closer. You have to understand this, the ISKCON society and this Hare Krishna movement more closely. Then you would be able to realize more. So, so then he said, you have to this thing. And besides, do you know something? Maharaj tells him, you are taking shelter of meat, drugs, illicit sex, which was rampant at the time that, where Prabhupada went to the United States, and Maharaj was also there. This, the hippies and this thing. And so you are taking shelter of meat, drugs, and illicit sex. And the questioner, he gave the final verdict. He said, are you accusing me? Please, Gopal, goodness gracious me, you're making me blush. And the whole, the studio was ended this whole thing with a pleasant, jovial laughter. And it was like a very friendly ending to this big challenge, which they were trying to put down ISKCON, and here Maharaj successfully failed it and gave them this very good impression of what we are really doing. So this is what we would refer to as bold preaching, which should inspire us. I'm pointing a finger at me. It should inspire us to preach boldly. Where? Out in the public, out in the streets. So that's where we should be actually doing, following this, the way that Guru Maharaj has been preaching and teaching us to do the same also. So with my kind regards, I would like to thank you all. You are such an esteemed audience. Let me not take too much of your time, and let me hand the microphone now to my wife.
Hare Krishna. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Amritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. First of all, thank you all so much for giving us this opportunity. And it is always, we feel very fortunate whenever we have the opportunity to speak about the glories of Guru Maharaj. Actually, I was listening to His Holiness Prabodhananda Saraswati Maharaj when he was glorifying Guru Maharaj, and so nicely he explained everything about Guru Maharaj, like how he met Srila Prabhupada and how he still is so dear to Srila Prabhupada, and about his educational background. So we got a very good background about Guru Maharaj. And I remember it was 1985. That is when we had the first darshan of Guru Maharaj in Juhu, Mumbai. We lived very close to the temple, maybe about 20 minutes drive, but we had never been to the temple, the Hare Krishna temple, and it was a Saturday when we went there. We were just looking around, didn't know what to do, where to go, whom to talk to, and a very nice devotee walked up to us. And if I'm not mistaken, his name was Ramakant Prabhu, our God brother. And he encouraged us to become life member. So we did. And then he said, would you like to meet my spiritual master, my guru? We said, sure. In India, we are always, enthusiastic about meeting great devotees and, saintly personalities. So when my husband and I and our son, we went to Guru Maharaj's room, it was like lost children who have come back to the father, the spiritual father. He was so kind, so caring. He gave us full attention even though his room was full of people. He inquired from us who we were, where we lived, what we did, where we worked. And he offered us Mahaprasadam, and we felt so cared for. And he very politely asked us, can I have your phone number? And sure enough, yes, we gave him our phone number, and then we left. And sure enough, within few days, we got a phone call, and he said, "This is Gopal Krishna Goswami talking." And we remember, and we were very surprised that, we are nobody and we get a phone call. And he said, would you mind if I come to your house? And, we had learned from our parents that it is always a blessing, to have, saintly people come to your home, they bless your home and it gets purified. So we said, sure. And he came. Of course, we were very new to Krishna consciousness. We didn't know anybody. We didn't know anything. So we didn't even know the proper Vaishnava etiquette. So, he came to the house, and a devotee had come with him, not his disciple, but a devotee from the temple. And when he came, of course, I had no idea what to do. So the devotee got upset and he said, "You didn't even put a white sheet on the couch. Don't you know you have to put a white sheet?" I ran and, got a white sheet and put it on the couch. And then he said, it was dinner time. What about prasadam for Maharaj? And I said, "I have aloo puri." So didn't know, that just a simple aloo puri was served to him, but he was not concerned about anything at all. He did not mind that he did not get the welcome, that is deserving, or proper seat, and or some big feast or not. He was only concerned about preaching to us very, very kindly, with full of compassion. He taught us how to chant and told us, that it would be nice if you can chant 16 rounds every day. And we said, sure, we will. And he showed us how to chant. And then he encouraged us to attend some Bhagavad Gita classes that were going on near Juhu. So we started attending those Bhagavad Gita classes and started learning. And soon he gave us initiation, and then encouraged us to start a Bhagavad Gita class in our own house on Fridays at 7 p.m. And he told us that I travel a lot, but every time I'm in Bombay, in Mumbai, on a Friday, I will come to your house for the program. And sure enough, every time he was in town, he came just to encourage us, just to inspire us. And sometimes he would bring, his god brothers along with him for the program. So we, just by associating with him, we could see that he's so kind, so compassionate, and so personal, very, very personal. Of course, I remember one instance about his caring nature. This was before we got initiated. And as I told you, we were not so aware of Vaishnava etiquette. So since we were life members in Juhu temple, every Sunday used to be a Sunday feast program, especially for life members in the temple hall. And after the lecture, a big feast was served to the life members, and we had to come with our life membership card. So one Sunday, we were standing in the long line of prasadam. It was a very long line, and I was really sick, but still I was standing there because we wanted prasadam. And because the line was moving slowly, I had to sit down because of not feeling too well. And there walks in Guru Maharaj. He comes to the temple hall, And he says, "Oh, you're not feeling well?" He called a devotee and he said, "Go get 2 plates of prasadam for them." And we felt so embarrassed that we had to take service from Guru Maharaj. He arranged to. So you can see that so much caring and so much love for his devotees, that he is aware all the time. All the time he is aware that what is it that my devotees need, so he can provide. Now we all know that Guru Maharaj is an ocean of transcendental qualities. I mean, it's not possible to talk about all his qualities because there are so many. He's so humble, the deep devotion he has, and his complete surrender to Srila Prabhupada, and being so faithful and so dear disciple of Srila Prabhupada. It's like we are so grateful that Lord Krishna and Srila Prabhupada has given us Guru Maharaj, who is actually our savior. I remember in 1992, we moved to the US, and but in 1997, we got a call from Guru Maharaj. We were in Atlanta, and Guru Maharaj wanted us to move back to India. Our son had just joined Georgia Tech as a freshman, and but Guru Maharaj wanted us to move back to India, and not just move back, but to live in Juhu Temple. And so yeah, we wound up everything, sold the house, cars, gave up our jobs, and went back to India. And when we reached there, we went to see him in his room, and he said that uh, he told us his desire. He said his desire was that even though we are married, he wanted us to stay separately. Prabhu in Brahmachari ashram, and I stay in ladies ashram and do service in the temple, in Juh temple. And we said, sure. So this is how we started living in the temple and managing a department called Bhishma department, which was basically with all the database of the congregation, and collecting donations, in printing the magazines, etc. But the fortunate part is that Guru Maharaj gave me the opportunity to be his secretary for some time. And secretary means basically, help him with his correspondence and phone calls, etc. So first of all, the first service was to sort out all the letters that had come from disciples from all over the world, to put them, kind of file them properly, and then of course start with dictation. Now while I was there taking dictation, I was amazed. I shouldn't be, but I was amazed to see his Guru Maharaj's dedication, his complete absorption in each and every letter that he had received. He had so many letters to respond to, but he would take one letter and go through it a couple of times, read it, and in such a beautiful way he would respond to those letters. So I would take the dictation, and he would appreciate all the good qualities of that disciple. For instance, I remember there was a letter from one of our God sisters from Mauritius, and the first thing Guru Maharaj dictated was, you have a beautiful handwriting. So that means he even noticed the handwriting of the disciples. So he was all the time encouraging and, inspiring and motivating his disciples. And he was very, very much about perfection. For instance, if I would take dictation, type it out, and print out. But before print out, he would make it clear that the margins should be right. There should be the proper punctuation marks, and there has to be enough space for him to sign, between your ever well-wisher and then his name, there should be enough space. So he was very particular that even a printout letter should be perfect. And this is how, he answered his correspondence. One time, I remember it was just approaching GBC meetings in Mayapur. And Guru Maharaj, as we know, is all the time traveling and preaching, and he hardly takes rest. And he was, like running short of time. He didn't have enough time. So he called me in his room and he said that here is the tape. In those days, there used to be those audio tapes. What are they called? Cassettes, audio cassettes. So he had a very small one, in which he had recorded the GBC report that he was supposed to present to all the GBC members. And he said, here it is, transcribe it, type it out, make about 10-15 copies, I'm not sure. Make those copies and keep it ready. So I rushed and I transcribed and did everything. And before I could, he had to catch a flight. So he told me that you give this report to Sridhar Maharaj, who's coming tomorrow to Mayapur, and he will bring it for me. And he left for the airport without meeting me. So I finished the reports and everything. And then at night, there was a knock on my door in the ashram, and there was a letter. It was a letter which was handwritten by Guru Maharaj at the airport, appreciating the effort. Now, it was my good fortune that I had the opportunity to do some service, but he acknowledged that service and he wrote a beautiful letter in his own handwriting, appreciating, helping him out with the GBC report. So it sometimes becomes embarrassing to, receive that, but that shows us that how much he cares for each and every disciple of his. One instance I remember, I was taking dictation, and of course during dictation, sometimes, not sometimes, always he would get phone calls, and then he would stop the dictation, he would answer the call, and he would, tell me, with his, in sign language, that you keep sitting here, don't go, you wait, because once the call is finished, then he would continue the dictation. So I would just sit there and I would, softly chant till his phone call is completed. So one day, excuse me, one day, while I was softly chanting, I noticed there was a bug on my lap. And bugs freaked me out, and I didn't know what to do, because I was in Guru Maharaj's room and he is on an international phone call, and I cannot even scream, I cannot jump, I cannot do anything. And I was just watching that bug and I didn't know what to do. And I didn't realize that Guru Maharaj was watching. And he stopped the phone call and he said, Gita, be very careful. Take this bug on the paper, go outside and put the bug in the pot of that plant which is there in the balcony of that Juhu temple. And so that made me realize that even though he's on a very important international call, still he is observing, and he is concerned and compassionate about each living entity, even that tiny bug. And that same incident happened even in Atlanta when he came. In fact, he's been coming to Atlanta for almost 20 years, more than 20 years now. And he was giving a lecture in Atlanta, and there was a bug on his lap while he was giving lecture. And he just looked at that bug and said very compassionately, Hare Krishna, to that little bug. So we can see that he's concerned about all living entities, because he understands, he knows that all living entities are part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. before talking more about Atlanta, I would like to relate one more incident which left a huge mark on me, and that was when we were living in the Juhu temple. Excuse me, we were living there. Guru Maharaj called me in his room, and he said that a lot of visitors come to the Juhu temple, especially on the weekends. They come even during weekdays, but weekends there are many, many new people visiting the temple just for darshan. He said, I want you to stand at the, at the gate. Just before they enter for darshan, I want you to stand there, and I want you to stand there all the time and talk to people, introduce them to Krishna consciousness, encourage them to buy a Bhagavad Gita or to become a life member. And at that time, my health was very poor, and it was very difficult for me to even stand. Without even thinking twice, I blurted out. And I said, Guru Maharaj, my health is not so good. I don't think I'll be able to stand. And the answer that came, the response was, he looked very seriously and he said, Gita, I'm trying to take you back to Godhead. And that was like a deep realization that the spiritual master is doing his part, to seriously try to take the disciple back to Godhead. What about the disciple? The disciple also needs to be serious about that same thing and put in all the efforts sincerely and seriously to follow the instructions of the spiritual master. You see? So coming back to Atlanta, he has been coming previously. He used to come twice a year, and but then because of his health conditions, and after maybe I think 10 years or so of coming twice, maybe not 10, 5 years or so coming twice a year, then he made it once a year. And always that excited him and made him happy was big hall programs where a lot of new people are there, and he gets to talk to them, and that makes him very happy. And he liked back-to-back programs, one program, then maybe 3 programs in a day. But then gradually, it was hard, to kind of go from one place to another, do 3 programs in a day. So we started reducing it, maybe 2 programs a day and then 1. And then, we would ask him, Guru Maharaj, now it's time for you to, eat, and give him a big feast to eat. And Guru Maharaj, now it's time for you to rest. So one day he said, I don't come to Atlanta to eat and sleep. I come here to preach. So that is another realization that this life is not for eating and sleeping. It is for preaching. That is what makes him very, very happy. So this is what he teaches with his own example, personal example, that how we must be completely surrendered, like he's completely surrendered to Srila Prabhupada. He's completely surrendered to the mission of Srila Prabhupada. And he is setting such a wonderful example for us. And my husband and I, we are very, very fortunate to be his disciples. And we're very grateful to Lord Krishna for giving us Guru Maharaj. And of course, my husband and I, we would like to thank Sri Narayan Prabhu and Leela Vasini Mataji for giving us this opportunity to glorify. And we are imperfect people. We tried, and hopefully we were able to shed some light. So thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Mataji, for giving us this wonderful realization. So we will definitely relish this for the very long years to come. And we have some few questions. Can we take some questions, Mataji?
Yes, sure.
So, request devotees, if you have any questions, you can just type it on the chat box, or you can just raise your hands. We will definitely make it. Hare Krishna, Mataji. There's one question like, dear Mataji, thank you for your sharing the realization. How do we understand Guru Maharaj's mood in terms of serving based on whatever his instructions and teachings? How do we understand it in a proper way?
Yes, that comes with association, and that comes from hearing also. Like Guru Maharaj always says, there are three kinds of disciples. The topmost is one who serves even before Guru Maharaj, desires it or asks for it. Second one is he, when Guru Maharaj gives instruction, then he follows. And the third class is one where Guru Maharaj gives instructions, but he does not follow. So it is a matter of, see, Guru Maharaj, if you all have noticed, no matter where he's giving lecture, on what topic he's giving lecture, there are four things he always talks about. One is attentive chanting, reading Srila Prabhupada's books for 2 hours every day, preaching, and serving in the temple. So from this we can understand his mood, what does he want, what pleases him. And Srila Prabhupada has already told us that if we can please our spiritual master, then we can definitely please Krishna. That is what pleases Krishna. And what pleases a spiritual master is following his instructions. And these four instructions that he always gives us in his lectures, in fact, I believe there is Guru Maharaj's live lecture in about 1 hour, 15 minutes today. And he will again repeat these four instructions, to help us progress spiritually. So that is how, if we can follow these four, then we know that we are pleasing him.
I think there's one more. Like, there's one question from Melbourne. Shri Ramadas has joined. I'm from Melbourne, and we don't get that much of personal association. How do we serve Guru Maharaj if you don't get personal association?
Yes, even Srila Prabhupada says this, and even Guru Maharaj talks about this, that Vani is equal to Vapu also. So we may not have, like for instance in Atlanta, we see him only once a year. And unfortunately this year we don't even get to have his darshan in Atlanta because of COVID-19. So if we can follow the instructions, the Vani, right, that is associating with him in person, Vapu. So like Prabhupada says that I am there in my books. So when we read Srila Prabhupada's books, we are associating with Srila Prabhupada. So when we follow instructions of Guru Maharaj, we are associating with him. And there are two ways also we can associate, which I do, is send him emails and then call him up also on the phone from time to time. So if I have some spiritual questions or even sometimes material questions, I call him up and talk to him, and he's always happy to take phone calls, and he also responds to the email. So we can associate that way also, but following the instructions is the key to success.
Thank you, Mataji. I think there's one more private question. Sometimes Guru Maharaj, we heard, gives personal instructions, and generally there are some specific instructions to everybody. Should we always pursue for personal instructions, or we will just have the general instructions?
Both are important. And what helps me personally is that whenever he gives instructions, personal instructions, I write them down in the diary so I don't forget, because Kali Yuga, especially old people like me, memory is not so good, so to remember all the instructions becomes difficult. So just write it down in the diary and sincerely follow those instructions. Once that instruction is followed, then put a check mark. Then there is satisfaction that yes, I followed my spiritual master's instruction. So if we should be focusing on both personal and the general instructions that Guru Maharaj gives us.
Mataji, there's a nice question. What is the secret of your long association and success? Now it is like more than 40 years. So most of the devotees are just asking this. What is that is keeping thriving you like the Devas?
Actually, not 40 years, 35 years to be precise, 1985. What we have noticed is that both my husband and I gave a lot of importance to his instructions. Whatever instructions he gave, we tried hard to follow them. And if we were unable to, then we would inquire from him, what should we do if we are not able to follow? And then, the good thing about Guru Maharaj is that when he gives instructions, he does not give it as an instruction, you have to do it. No, he gives it as a suggestion, so that we do not fall in the category of committing an offense, right? If it's an instruction and we don't follow, then it becomes an offense, one of those 10 offenses, right? To disobey the orders of the spiritual master. So he would always suggest, but we took them as instructions. And one thing that I can think of that really pleases him is preaching. When we reach out to new people, though, introduce them to Krishna consciousness, and that makes him happy. And when he's happy, then spiritual progress becomes easy. So this is what I can think of is preaching.
I think there was this question also, like how to make Guru Maharaj happy. I think you have answered that very nicely. Thank you.
Yes. Following instructions, yes.
Mm-hmm. Any specific instructions for Grahasthas? I think most of them are Grahasthas in the group. So we would like to hear some specific points as Grahasthas, being in the family life. So any specific instructions you can share?
Grahastha life, as even Rupa Goswami says, that we should be a Grahastha, not a Grahamedhi, which means, live a married life with family, but have Krishna in the center. A very nice example I had heard was that we have a big glass jar, and then we have a big rock, and then we have some pebbles, and then we have sand also, and we need to fit everything inside the jar. So what would be the first thing that we would put inside? Definitely the big rock, because once that rock is inside, then the pebbles and sand will find its way inside the jar, very easily. So that rock is Krishna. So in our Grahastha life, if we put Krishna in the center, then family, kids, relatives, society, everything will fall in place. So to lead that, Grahastha life, like Bhakti Vinod Thakur says, that everything belongs to Krishna. My wife, my children, my home, everything is Krishna's. Nothing belongs to me. So if we have that consciousness, then there will be no the thought of manipulating the family or taking advantage of them or using them, because then we will see everyone part of Krishna, everyone belonging to Krishna, and everyone to be used in service of Krishna. So that's why it's important that the family, sits together in the evenings, chant together, read Bhagavad Gita together, with children, so that atmosphere is there. And then, of course, following the four regulative principles, offering food to the Supreme Lord, the basics.
There's another nice one way of question, like privately you asked. Thank you, Mataji, for sharing wonderful realization. Guru Maharaj is always enthusiastic, preaching and everything. Can you please share anything, the hasya, the humor side of Guru Maharaj? Anything that which you have seen or which you can just share the
Yeah.
humor side of it.
Yes, I remember. Of course, there are many, but right now I can remember one. He was giving a lecture in Atlanta Temple. I think it was a Sunday feast lecture. I'm not sure. And then he was talking about the people running after fashion. You know, like, oh, this is in fashion, that is in fashion. So bell bottom is in fashion, so I need to buy that. Or kurti is in fashion, so let me buy that. So, but Guru Maharaj said, what fashion is it? That they just take a button from here and put it over there, and then they put it over there and they call it a new fashion, So that was very humorous, they take out the button from here and put it over there, so that's a new fashion. So yes, he has a very good sense of humor, but because of old age, my memory is not helping me remember some more of those humorous instances. But yes, his every lecture has a lot of humor in it.
I think there's one Vaishnav Charan Prabhu. Yeah, Prabhu, you can just post a question.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dandatnam. Mataji, my question is regarding, you have very long association, around 35 years with Guru Maharaj. So there are times when Guru Maharaj will give deep insight into some philosophy. Seeing some normal scenario, which we might see as a normal thing, but Guru Maharaj sometimes will share, something very deep inside the philosophy regarding that particular situation. So since your long association, Mataji, do you have any such instance wherein out of a normal situation, Guru Maharaj shared some deep insight, some philosophical insight related to Krishna consciousness, which you can share with all of us? Hare Krishna.
Yes, thank you, Prabhu. I remember when we were new, we were just initiated. Our son was already, I think, 10 or 12 years old when we came to Krishna consciousness, and we were really new. I think we were only 1 year in Krishna consciousness when we got initiated. So, for instance, it was after a long time we came to know about the Guru Pranam mantra and all. There was not much like a training, happening at that time in Juhu Temple. So one day we were, my husband and I were with Guru Maharaj in his room in Juhu, and he said, now that you are initiated and this is your first initiation, and do you know the rules properly? And we said, like we all repeat, no meat eating, fish, eggs, onion, garlic, no illicit sex, no gambling, what is the other one? No intoxication, tea or coffee. So he said there is more to it. And we were surprised that, what else could it be? Because this is all we've been hearing, and this is what is even repeated during initiation. When Guru Maharaj is giving the name, he will ask these 4 rules. So he mentioned, and he said that when the scriptures talk about illicit sex, it also means that even though one may be married in Grihastha life, one should not associate, have sex with the spouse unless one wants Krishna conscious children. So in other words, directly telling us that it is time for vanaprastha. It's time, even though we were very young at that time. How old we were, I can't tell you, I don't remember, because now I'm really old. So the point is, our son was 12 years old, and this is what he taught us, something very, very serious, and something that is necessary. And that is why when we were called back from the US in 97 to come and live in the temple, Jew temple, he made us stay separately. He said this has never happened before in ISKCON, where a married couple, live like this, brahmachari ashram, ladies ashram. But I want to start this, what is that called? This, I can't think of the word, but he wanted to start doing this, in Juhu temple. So he was, very, very very clear about what can be done and what should not be done. So this is one of the things I remember. I
Thank
think
you, Mataji.
even
Thank you.
Prabhupada talked about that.
Yeah, you were saying something, Mataji. Sorry, I interrupted. Please continue.
Oh, I was just saying even Prabhupada has talked about it.
Thank you, Mataji. One follow-up question. Mataji, I mean, as Prabhuji at the starting of the class, he told that how ferocious, Guru Maharaj was when dealing with people, in the initial days. Nowadays, things, Guru Maharaj still speak that, bluntly, but we are seeing, all across our society, things are, are getting toned down with respect to how the philosophy being presented to masses. So, Mataji, can you share any instance wherein while you were in Atlanta or US, wherein because when you speak like this, we are just chopping off people's egos. There are times, the people, there will be some person who might not like it and he might, revolt, something like that. So, do you remember any instance wherein Guru Maharaj was giving this kind of lecture? When you are associated, where you were present, and there was somebody who revolted, and how Guru Maharaj handled the situation? Can you, if there is an instance, can you share that?
Yes, many instances, and I remember that it depends on time, place, and circumstance. Even Guru Maharaj says Desha Kala Patra. Prabhupada also talks about that. So we preach according to, who are we preaching to? What is the situation? Where are we? In what is the condition? So based on that, Guru Maharaj would respond. But if there was someone who was very rude and who was not interested in Krishna consciousness but was just challenging, then Guru Maharaj would right then and there, pardon me for using this, but he would ask them to shut up. Not really say shut up, but put them in place, if necessary would raise the voice, but most of the time there was no need to raise the voice. Just with a firm tone, he would put that person in place. I remember, and of course, Guru Maharaj, being a Tattvadarshina, he can see through. Like even when we are present in front of Guru Maharaj, he can see through. He can see through what's going on in our head. How he can, like it is said, thermometer can check the temperature. He can check our spiritual temperature right looking into our eyes. So I remember in Atlanta, before the class was to start, Guru Maharaj came into the temple room, and I was introducing him to someone who had started chanting, but Guru Maharaj could see through. And I introduced him. Guru Maharaj didn't even, he just said Hare Krishna, and he continued, towards the Vyasasana to start giving lecture. And I shouldn't have been, but I was surprised, and I was started wondering why did Guru Maharaj do that? Because Guru Maharaj could see through, that okay, this is not a genuine person. And sure enough, after 1 or 2 days, I came to know, he had done something not nice, and was in the temple for a different reason or whatever it is. But Guru Maharaj could see through, he could see through. And so it always depended on time, place, and circumstance, who it is, and whether that person needs to be, put in place, or like my husband was talking about that very strong interview that was there on the TV. I mean, if you all get a chance, you all can hear it, and it's a very powerful interview, very powerful. Guru Maharaj just boom, 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 like putting that person in place. So it depends, who is talking to him, what is the topic, what is the attitude, which is very important. So he would deal with, persons accordingly. I hope I was able to answer your question.
Thank you, Mataji. It was very helpful, Mataji, to understand. Thank you. Thank you for all the insights. Dandavat Pranam.
So, request devotees, anybody you want to just share whatever you've learned from Mataji and Prabhuji, or you want to have any specific questions, then just please raise your hand or just type it. We will we'll close the session in another 1 or 2 minutes. Yeah. So, yes, Leela Mataji. Yeah, Mataji, Leela Vasini Mataji, you can unmute. So we want to thank Leela Vasini Mataji also, because from the seed of Atlanta, we have very nice association of Leela Vasini Mataji. So we always were thankful for her, like long days back. Whenever she mentions about her association, she will never forget to thank Prabhuji and Mataji in terms of her Krishna consciousness. So Leela Vasini Mataji, you can unmute and then.
Hare Krishna Gita ji. Actually, thank you very much, and Govind ji, for giving this opportunity. And actually, the Govind ji was describing about Maharaj interview. That interview few days back also I heard, but when Govindji was describing, I can feel that Guru Maharaj itself saying that, and see how much Govindji is enjoying that he himself took the mood of Maharaj in that. And after watching this, I can able to relish more on, like, this is like how to say, like I can able to relish more about that points, how it is. So this so I should be very thankful for it, being Shiksha Guru Gitaji and Govindji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Leela Vasini. I would like to mention that Leela Vasini was in Atlanta many years ago, and I felt very happy whenever I saw her, because I saw her progress, and she was progressing like that. I mean, quickly started chanting, quickly. I know she was very attached to demigod worship, and she had so many questions, and like she was all the time inquiring and accepting. There was no challenging attitude. So it felt very happy to associate with her, but we miss your association, Leela Vasini. You left us and went back to India.
It is our fortune, Mataji, if we have having Mataji in Chennai. Mataji, there's one more question. Should we wait for Guru Maharaj's any personal instructions? Like, if we don't get any specific instructions, or we can just go and approach him?
Your question got cut. What after approach did you say?
Yes, Maharaj. The question is, should we approach Guru Maharaj for specific personal instructions, or we will wait for him to give us the personal instructions?
I know from experience that Guru Maharaj is very happy when we communicate with him, like we send him right emails to him. And he always says that I read all my emails, but I may not be able to respond immediately because of his travels and all. But he likes to get an update. Previously, I used to do it once a month, just to let him know what's happening in Atlanta, how's the preaching going, if there are any challenges or anything. And maybe after 3 or 4 emails, he might, send a small response, saying, yes, I received it. Or if I asked a question, So it would be nice if we can communicate with him, keep in touch with him, let him know what's happening. And then that way, in response we may get some personal instructions, or if we have any questions that we have some spiritual questions to ask, and then we can send it in email, and it depends on how urgent, what's the urgency of the question, and then accordingly he would respond. So that is one way. And even if we don't receive a personal instruction, just following his general instructions will help us to connect with him, be in touch with him. So is that okay?
Yes. I think most of them are. So thank you once again, Mataji and Prabhuji, for just joining us at this hour, and please bless us. We definitely need your blessings. So most of us are like your children and grandchildren. So we need your blessings to continue serving Guru Maharaj very nicely and understand his mood, and then we will love to serve Guru Maharaj and Prabhupada. Thank you very much, Mataji.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, and thank you for also reminding us how old we are. You are our grandchildren, so we are grandparents. Thank you so much. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So thank you, devotees, please, for joining us. We have Guru Maharaj lecture at 8 a.m. From the Delhi temple. And then after that, we also have another wonderful session at 9:30 a.m. in Chennai, India time. So thank you. Please join. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.